لله الدين الخالص والذين اتخذوا من دونه أولياء ما نعبدهم إلا ليقربونا إلى الله زلفى إن الله يحكم بينهم فيما هم فيه يختلفون إن الله لا يهدي من هو كاذب كفار لو أراد الله أن يتخذوا ولدا لاصطفى مما يخلق ما يشاء سبحانه هو الله الواحد القهار خلق السماوات والأرض بالحق يكور الليل على النهار ويكور النهار على الليل وسخر الشمس والقمر كل يجري لأجل مسمى ألا هو العزيز الغفار خلقكم من نفس واحدة ثم جعل منها زوجها وأنزل لكم من الأنعام 8 أزواج يخلقكم في بطون أمهاتكم خلقا من بعد خلق في ظلمات 3 ذلكم الله ربكم له الملك لا إله إلا هو فأنى تصرفون إن تكفروا فإن الله غني عنكم ولا يرضى لعباده الكفر وإن تشكروا يرضه لكم ولا تزر وازرة وزر أخرى ثم إلى ربكم مرجعكم فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون إنه عليم بذات الصدور وإذا مس الإنسان ضر دعا ربه منيبا إليه ثم إذا خوله نعمة منه نسي ما كان يدعو إليه من قبل وجعل لله أندادا ليضل عن سبيله قل تمتع بكفرك قليلا إنك من أصحاب النار أمن هو قانت آناء الليل ساجدا وقائما يحذر الآخرة ويرجو رحمة ربه قل هل يستوي الذين يعلمون والذين لا يعلمون إنما يتذكر أولو الألباب قل يا عبادي الذين آمنوا اتقوا ربكم للذين أحسنوا في هذه الدنيا حسنة وأرض الله واسعة إنما يوفى الصابرون أجرهم بغير حساب قل إني أمرت أن أعبد الله مخلصا له الدين وأمرت لأن أكون أول المسلمين قل إني أخاف إن عصيت ربي عذاب يوم عظيم قل الله أعبد مخلصا له ديني فاعبدوا ما شئتم من دونه قل إن الخاسرين الذين خسروا أنفسهم وأهليهم يوم القيامة ألا ذلك هو الخسران المبين لهم من فوقهم ظلل من النار ومن تحتهم ظلل ذلك يخوف الله به عباده يا عباد فاتقون والذين اجتنبوا الطاغوت أن يعبدوها وأنابوا إلى الله لهم البشرى فبشر عباد الذين يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه أولئك الذين هداهم الله وأولئك هم أولو الألباب أفمن حق عليه كلمة العذاب أفأنت تنقذ من في النار لكن الذين اتقوا ربهم لهم غرف من فوقها غرف مبنية تجري من تحتها الأنهار وعد الله لا يخلف الله الميعاد ألم تر أن الله أنزل من السماء ماء فسلكه ينابيع في الأرض ثم يخرج به زرعا مختلفا ألوانه مختلفا ألوانه ثم يهيج فتراه مصفرا ثم يجعله حطاما إن في ذلك لذكرى لأولي الألباب أفمن شرح الله صدره للإسلام فهو على نور من ربه فويل للقاسية قلوبهم من ذكر الله أولئك في ضلال مبين الله نزل أحسن الحديث كتابا متشابها مثانية تقشعر منه جلود الذين يخشون ربهم ثم تلين جلودهم وقلوبهم إلى ذكر الله ذلك هدى الله يهدي به من يشاء ومن يضلل الله فما له من هاد أفمن يتقي بوجهه سوء العذاب يوم القيامة وقيل للظالمين ذوقوا ما كنتم تكسبون كذب الذين من قبلهم فأتاهم العذاب من حيث لا يشعرون فأذاقهم الله الخزي في الحياة الدنيا ولعذاب الآخرة أكبر لو كانوا يعلمون ولقد ضربنا للناس في هذا القرآن من كل مثل لعلهم يتذكرون قرآنا عربيا غير ذي عوج لعلهم يتقون ضرب الله مثلا رجلا فيه شركاء متشاكسون ورجلا سلما لرجل هل يستويان مثلا الحمد لله بل أكثرهم لا يعلمون إنك ميت وإنهم ميتون ثم إنكم يوم القيامة عند ربكم تختصمون صدق الله العظيم. الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Since we have about 5 minutes for the azan, I thought I will just take this opportunity to brief you all about our where we stand with this janaza program. MashaAllah, we had a good response, and we have been discussing with Forest Lawn negotiating for the plots. So they have come back with their offer, and now it's time that we commit ourselves to the Cyprus burial grounds by signing the contracts. So our target was 250. We are still short of our target. So we are moving forward. So we expect you all to support us by joining. Just think of this $35 a month as your contribution towards Sadaqatul Jariyah, and in return you will benefit, and it's a win-win situation. There is no way that you can lose out of this program. We have seen the rising cost of burial plots, and worst of all, we are having a shortage of spaces in most of the cemeteries. So, and most of these masajids who have purchased, they are not selling it out in bulk. They sell as the need arises. So in future times, the prices are escalating and they are selling it at those current prices. That is why we want to make sure we keep to our commitment. We hold the inventory in our hands, so that way we can move forward with this program without any kind of interruption. So please see me, see Brother Abid Baloch or Sister Rabia in the office here. Make sure that you enroll, and it's just only $35 a month, and you will see the benefits. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
I don't have 6. 1 more minute. Maybe. 1 more minute. Oh, nice. Okay. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Our khatib today is Brother Bilal Zahin. The khutbah is the importance of time. Today, tonight, inshallah, youth program, New Year, meet and greet each other. Boys and girls are welcome. Feed and help the hungry. Sunday, January 29th, inshallah. Your donations, your help, your contribution is welcomed. Our target, as usual, is 1,000 bags for needy people. It's 10 to 12. If you are interested in this program, please talk to me or Brother Wasim, Brother Samir, or Brother Majid. Another weekend school coming up programs. It's March 17, March 19, Adhan competition, Quran competition. Mark your calendar. This is only for weekend school, but if you want your kids to attend just to see what's happening, you're welcome. Donate, help your masjid, the food outside. Please purchase the food. Your donations, much appreciated. Please help us to improve. Please help us in our operations. Hawthorne Masjid table is outside. If you want to donate for their program or their project, please talk to them. They are outside by the fountain area. Make dua for Brother Muhammad Mirza, Dr. Aslam Abdullah. They are sick. Please make dua for them, Shifa. Brother Mustafa, our beloved brother's Mahbub Mahida, his dad, passed away in India. Last week I told you to make dua for him. He was very sick. But today, this week, he passed away. Please make dua for him. Make dua for all our brothers and sick brothers and sisters. I have a business card. Our brother in here, he has a smoke check. Brother Ahmed Al-Ajir Khan, he's the owner of Smoke Check by the pizza. He donated the cost of Smoke Check. So if you come to us and you buy this business card, it's $50. You buy it from the masjid, you can go get a free smoke check. So in the same time, you donate to the masjid and you benefit. So if you are interested in a smoke check, please talk to me. You buy this, you take it there, and he will do smoke check for you for free. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Please don't forget to turn off your cell phones.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. We begin in the name of Allah. All praise is due to Allah. We seek His help and forgiveness. We seek refuge through Him from the evil of our own souls. Whomsoever Allah guides, there is none to misguide. And whomsoever Allah misguides, there is none to guide. And I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship other than Allah. And I bear witness that the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is his last and final messenger. I would like to begin this khutbah with the mentioning of time. Sweet, precious time. You know, when we think of time in this worldly life, the closest things that come to our mind are a clock, perhaps some of the gray hairs on our head. Sometimes some of us, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant His ease and save us from these types of things, but some of us have terminal illnesses or diseases that are an indicator of time. Even in an economic sense, time is very valuable. When somebody at a job can do something faster than the next person, they can do it twice as fast, 3 times as fast, they are viewed highly, they are regarded as more proficient and a more high quality employee than the other individual who can't do the job just as fast. So time is an important measurement, a calibration tool for this life. If you were to go out on the street today and you were to ask any individual, ask them, if you could have one thing in life that was in abundance, you could have the most of that thing, what would it be? And I guarantee you, if they were answering truthfully, if they were honest with you, they would say that that one thing would be time. Why time? Why not money? They won't say money. Why won't they say money? They won't say money because no matter how much money you have in the world, that cannot buy you time. You can have all the mansions in the world, you can have all the wealth in the world, you can have all the cars in the world, but that will not buy you a second more. Sometimes you see in the communities, you have an affluent young man, maybe 30, 40 years old, and mashallah, he's donating a lot to the masjid. He has a lot to give to the masjid. He is a pillar of the community. Yet one day, he passes away, and nobody knew that he had any health problems, no circumstances that would have led to his death. And everybody's wondering, man, why this guy? Why did he pass away? No matter how much money he had, he could not save his own life. But think about if you had time. 24 hours now becomes 48 hours in a 24-hour day. Your time is multiplied. You could work a full-time job and still have time left in another 24 hours just to rest, and you'd be making the same amount of money, maybe more. So time is an important variable, but the question is, what do we view time as in the context of Islam? How do we view time as in the context of Islam? And the answer to that question is, time is a creation just like me and you. Time is a creation just like me and you. It will take a high mental capacity to understand what I just said. And I don't mean that in any disrespectful way to anybody here. MashaAllah, we are all educated, doctors, lawyers, and so forth. However, this is not something that you naturally think of when you look at a clock or when you think of time. Time is a creation. It was narrated by Sa'id al-Khudri, narrated in Bukhari, that in the hereafter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have a ram, a black and white ram, similar to a goat or a sheep, brought out in front of those who are headed for Jannah and in front of those who are headed for Jahannam. And a caller will call out and say, "O people of Jannah, this ram here in front of you, this is death." And they will say, "O people of Jahannam, this ram that is in front of you, this is death." And in front of both parties, death will be slaughtered. Because the caller will say that death no longer exists in the hereafter. Death no longer exists in the hereafter. It was only a means for the worldly life. It does not exist in the next life. So we see this importance of time. We see that time is a creation. We see that death is a creation. If you look at any possession that you own, whether it be a watch, whether it be a car, everything comes from this worldly life, this earth. Nothing comes from beyond this earth. If you look at your Rolex, for example, the metal from the Rolex comes from some metal that's mined out in the Rockies. The leather that you get to hold the watch together, that's probably taken from some cow on a farm out in Palmdale or Lancaster. Every item that you have comes from this world. We do not have an inch of understanding of what lies beyond us. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that time itself is a creation. And there are many examples in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the importance of time. And there is a most famous example of them all. And that is Surah Al-Asr, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Wal-Asr." He swears by the dwindling time. The dwindling time. Now, if you think about this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by whatever He wants to swear. And if you look at the common trend and theme between the things upon which He swears, you'll see that they all are true. They all have purpose. They all are stagnant. They don't ever change. For example, when He swears upon the sun never fails to rise when it's asked to rise. I guarantee you, if we were to discuss and have a debate and an argument and say, let's debate amongst ourselves whether the sun will rise tomorrow, we can guarantee ourselves that the sun will rise tomorrow if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills it. Because the sun is on a fixed schedule. But me and you, when we wake up for Fajr, I don't know, maybe sometimes we don't rise when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us to rise. When it's time for Dhuhr, maybe sometimes we don't rise when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks to rise. Sometimes when it comes to the Jummah khutbah and we're at work and we ask our boss, say, "Hey, boss, I need to go to Jummah khutbah. You know, this is a Friday obligation that I have." And the boss says, "Hey, Muhammad, Ali, we have an important meeting at Jummah during this time. You won't be able to go to your Friday prayer." And thus the Friday prayer gets left. The sun never fails to meet its schedule, but sometimes we do. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by something that is true, by time. But it's not just time. It is the dwindling time, the time that is coming to an end. If you were to look at the chronological sequence of the Asr prayer, it is actually towards the end of the day. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's way of saying, red alert, flash, your time is coming to an end. Your time is coming to an end. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Wal asr, innal insana lafi khusr." He says, verily, man is at a state of loss. Verily, humanity is in a state of loss. And what do we mean by this? What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mean by this? You ask any individuals out in the world today, there are individuals who are seeking to fulfill the overall goal in life, and that is contentment. Okay? It's contentment. To fulfill contentment will be the overall goal in life for humanity. And there are individuals who search that in different ways. Some of them search it in terms of wealth. They want to have a lot of wealth. They want to be able to accrue the most money that they can so that they can be the richest among themselves and their families. Some of them, they want power. They want to have the most power. They want to be the name in the community. They want to make sure that everybody knows who they are. They want to make sure that they're the most famous in the world. And then there are those who maybe they don't get money, they don't get power, but they shoot for intoxication. They think that intoxication is a means to guarantee them this contentment. But if you were to ask them, each and every one of them, bring a representative forth from each one of those parties and ask them, dear madam, sir, you have explored these different avenues to achieve this contentment. Have you arrived at your destination? Have you found what it was that you were looking for? And the answer 100% will be no, we have not. Because the more that we want, the more that we get, is the more that we want. The Prophet ﷺ says that if a son of Adam is given a valley of gold, he will want a second valley of gold. The contentment does not stop. The contentment comes only from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says, إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Except those who have faith. Except those who have faith. He's saying, look, you can have whatever you want in this life, but nothing will bring you that X factor, that contentment, other than believing in me, other than having faith. However, it doesn't stop there. Because I guarantee you, if everybody in this world today were to believe in the first half of the Shahada, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadur Rasulullah, if they only believe that I testify that there is no God but God, and that's all that it took to become a Muslim, I guarantee you that this masjid will be packed all the way to Palos Verdes. I guarantee you. Because that's easy. It's easy to just say, okay, I believe in God. However, you need that supplement. You need to supplement that faith with good deeds. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاسُوا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاسُوا بِالصَّبْرِ. Except those who have faith, do good deeds, urge each other to truth, and urge each other to perseverance. So we ask ourselves, how are we embolic? How do we emulate this fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making for us, this argument that He is making for us in this verse? And we know that to ourselves, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using this surah as a means to show us that there's not a lot of time left. In Surah Al-Mulk, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور. That we have given death and life as a means to test you. We have given death and life as a means to test you. Death, as funny enough, ironically enough, comes before life in this verse. Death comes before life in this verse, which means to say that when you are born, you are not given a birth certificate. Physically, you may be given a birth certificate. Many of us have that in our homes, and sometimes it's needed for identification when you go to the Social Security office or when you go to a government office. But the one thing that you're given that you don't see in a physical form, in a physical copy, is your death certificate. Nobody knows when that time is going to come. The graveyard, it does not discriminate. It takes in the young, it takes in the old, it takes in the middle age. There is not a stamp on our forehead that says, "Oh Muhammad, oh Umar, this is your time to come to me." There is no postcard that is being sent. So inshallah, in the second half of the khutbah, we'll tie in this concept of time together. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله ولكم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله So we have made the argument that has been clarified through deductive reasoning from the Quran that time, not only is it a creation, but it is a reminder to us that our own time is not too long in this universe. And so then the question is, right, this khutbah shouldn't be a means to just lecture, but it should be a means to offer advice and guidance that all of us, including myself, can benefit from, inshallah. And there are 2 points that should be mentioned in regards to how we should apply better usage of our time. What should we learn from the fact that our time is dwindling? And the first is, have proper goals in mind. Have proper goals in mind. You know, there are many parents who come to me sometimes, and they say, you know, Bilal, my kid, you know, he's struggling in school, he's misbehaving, he's always causing disturbance, his head is not focused, I want to bring him to the masjid. And honestly, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward those parents who are trying to help their kids, bring them closer to the faith, inshallah. But the one thing sometimes you have to ask is, do they have proper goals instilled in their lives? Do they have proper goals instilled in their lives? Meaning, when they go 5 years down the line, are they looking into the future? A lot of times, when we were in high school, perhaps when we were in our younger days, we made some mistakes, we did things that perhaps we shouldn't have done. And we probably would not have done those things had we known that a few years down the line, well, we're gonna have a job. So you coming late to school every day is not gonna translate well when you actually have an occupation and your boss is waiting for you to come to work on time, right? When we make mistakes, well, you have a family, you have children. Back then, when you were in high school, perhaps you didn't think that way, but now going forward, you do. If we were to realize that and actualize that, perhaps we would make better usage of our time. The second lesson is this: to take advantage of the non-value added time. You know, there's somebody who did a study. They said that the average person, you know, in the workforce is around 30 years old. 30 years old is the average person. Now, if you assume that the average person sleeps about a third of their day, okay? So in a 30-year lifespan, that means that 10 years were wasted just on sleep. And if you did traveling, let's say that took up 2 years of your life, and 3 years of school and work, and 2 years of entertainment and recreation. And if you were to combine all those years that you wasted on non-value added time, you would see that you actually had 10 years of potential value added time that you could have done to dedicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or make something better of yourself. So for those of us who are at that age and have the next 30 years remaining, ask yourself, even if you have 30 years yet to live, how much of that 30 years do you have to dedicate to value added time, to asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness, to making your community better, to making your masjid better? And so I will end with a few comments, inshallah. The first is that even though we understand time, and after this khutbah you're going to say, MashaAllah, I have a great understanding of time, we truly still do not understand time to its full entirety. Ask a man who had his mother pass away, and he comes to me and he says, you know, Bilal, like, if I had known at least a month before that my mother was in this condition, there was no news of her passing, I didn't know she was going to pass. If I knew a month before she passed, I would have done everything in my power to be there for her, to try and do good deeds, to make myself available, to be kind with her, to be happy with her. If I had a month to live, if I had a month with her. What about somebody who has a week? Let's bring it down to a week. Ask somebody who is on death row for a week, meaning they only have 1 week to live. Ask them, if you were to have 1 week to live, you have 1 week to live. If you were to be released out into the world today, what would you do in that 1 week's time? And I guarantee you they will surely say that in that 1 week, I would have done all the good deeds that I could have done to prevent myself from going into prison in the first place. I would have taken advantage of all of that time. Ask somebody who was taking advantage for a second. Let's bring it down to a second. Ask a sprinter in a track and field race who lost the race by a millisecond of a difference. Ask them what a millisecond feels like. As soon as they lost the race, they become a drug inhabitor. They were addicted to drugs, addicted to alcohol, just because they lost by a millisecond of a race. Ask them what a millisecond feels like. So inshallah, I'd like to conclude by saying that time is an important essential in our life. I am not here for fundraising, but I was asked by the Islamic Center of Hawthorne to ask all the congregants in the crowd to make sure that when you leave today, please dedicate a partial of your funds, whatever you have, to this new project that the Islamic Center of Hawthorne is working on. Some of you, I'm sure, have heard of it, where they're going to be purchasing the hometown buffet that is across from the masjid. And for those of you guys who have never been to the Islamic Center of Hawthorne, I will say that just like Lomita Masjid, mashallah, the center has a great community, has great people. And this was an opportunity for them to take advantage of, and they are now taking advantage of to increase their capacity, because the attendance at the masjid has increased so much in the last 10 to 15 years. And one of the plans for the masjid is to have a youth center in that new space, along with some other opportunity to generate income. So just in terms of numbers, they have raised $200,000 so far. They have $750,000 in their account, and there is still $4.6 million that needs to be raised in order to purchase this property. So please, before you leave today, make an effort to take advantage of the time that you have in your life. You never know that where your destination is going to be will actually be actualized, and if you even reach your destination. And if you don't, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may ask you, what was the last thing that you did with the time that was given to you? So inshallah, I ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us and benefits us with this understanding, and He gives shifa to all those who are sick and all those who are facing calamity. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka hamidun majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka hamidun majid. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. سبحان ربك رب العزة أما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين وأقيم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
دائما أبدا لا إله إلا الله. استقيموا واعتدلوا استووا وجهوا قلوبكم إلى الله. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. اعلموا أنما الحياة الدنيا لعب ولهو وزينة وتفاخر بينكم وتكاثر في الأموال والأولاد كمثل غيث أعجب الكفار نباته ثم يهيج فتراه مصفرا ثم يكون حطاما وفي الآخرة عذاب شديد ومغفرة من الله ورضوان وما الحياة الدنيا إلا متاع الغرور سابقوا إلى مغفرة من ربكم وجنة عرضها كعرض السماء والأرض أعدت للذين آمنوا بالله ورسله ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. استغفر الله العظيم. استغفر الله العظيم. استغفر الله العظيم. اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام تبارك ربك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام.